Tuesday was the 18th. Yeah.
Yeah, I took one at 6:54. I was a short and I won.
Did I take that short too? Oh yeah. Okay. So Tuesday, I took a trade. On Wednesday, I didn't take a trade. And then on Thursday, I took a trade long off this 2 hour demand, but I got stopped out at break even. And then on Friday, I didn't take a trade.
I took 2 trades this day. A loss and a win.
What, Tuesday?
Yeah.
And if you look at the 5-minute chart for these days, you can kind of see why. Oh, shit. So that's Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Even just zooming in into Wednesday, you can see why I didn't trade. Just super choppiness. Didn't have any clear direction at this point. But a large part of why I think you got to really take into consideration where the market wants to go. And that's why I like to use the yesterday's high and yesterday's low intraday. Because, like, for example, here in the morning, we were selling off heavy before the open. And looking at my head already.
What day is that? What's the black day?
That's Tuesday.
Okay.
Too, that I'm looking at. But it's looking different to me because this isn't the chart that I had for this day. Hold on, let me pull it up. So this was the chart for Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we sold off in pre-market, broke through yesterday's high, and then usually, like, I already know I can't trade the first 5 minutes. So even if something appears, I'm not really too quick to even consider making it happen. But I liked how we broke under this pre-market low, broke under demand. The pressure was heavy to the downside. So I had like I had downside bias basically. So I wanted to see a pop into this 2 hour demand. Actually, let me see my current numbers. I think NQ was also in.
I just recently started noting my trades on the TOS as well on my screenshots.
Oh yeah, that shit helps for context, like just understanding what you were seeing on the larger.
Yesterday was like the first time I did it.
So I did see this 1,000 lot outlier at 61.41, and it was right near pre-market.
My trade was the retest of that.
Of what?
The outlier at 61.39.50 is when I took my trade. Oh wait. Yeah, 60.39.50.
Up
61.
Wait.
61.39, I think, Dave. The outlier.
Yeah, so for me, I used the first outlier that appeared here, and I think you guys used this.
No, I used the first one, I think.
My chart doesn't go that far. Oh yeah, on this one it does. At what time?
Oh shit. always forget about the fucking times.
I took it at 654, which is one of the times it retested that outlier at
Oh yeah,
6141.
at 6141.
Yeah, that's the outlier.
653, I took it. So me and Eloy pretty much got the same entry.
Okay, so you guys took it like around one of these. This is 655. This is 650. So this one,
Yeah.
61, 41. Whereas I took it on the top and reject of pre-market low. It wasn't as large of a push off, but I feel like NQ was also part of the reason why, but I don't have notes of that here. But I did end up exiting early because I was scared of the news that was coming out at 7. So I exited right before 7, and then that news ended up pushing us lower, which was annoying. On this one though, like using yesterday's low or yesterday's high was kind of hard because it had already broke through in pre-market, so it's not as helpful in this situation. But the heavy pressure to the downside, and the fact that the trend line, I was expecting that to get hit at some point. Not that I was planning a trade down there, but just the direction helped me be comfortable with going short. And
Oh, I
we
see
had
what you're
broke
saying.
under, and we had broke under a key 2-hour demand zone. So I was already like, okay, we broke the most key level I have here. So now a pop into it and that can't keep going higher is going to keep like just have an influence on my downside pressure here.
So you knew that price was going to gravitate towards the trend line, so shorts were more probable for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. When you have an idea of the direction that the market wants to go, then it can help just confirm a setup that you may have, that you may be considering.
It can give you a little confidence too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let me go back to my chart here. Share you. So on Tuesday and then Wednesday, it was super choppy. So what the fuck? Oh, I'm lost.
You're out of it today, Eric.
I had to smoke a joint because I was feeling like shit earlier. And then I smoked a joint and I was like, oh, I'm cool.
Hey, when are we gonna do shrooms again, man? I'm fiending.
Dude, Eli, that shit was tight.
Dude, you should have been there.
Where'd y'all end up going?
Botanical Garden.
We saw none of it. That shit was
This is
shit.
this is the choppiness from Wednesday, so there just wasn't anything there for me. But then going into this day, just speaking on market context, we came down to that 2-hour demand. The trend line was pretty deep down into demand, so I wasn't very biased on hitting it. And there was already a lot of selling that occurred. I feel like I missed the opportunity on this. I think there was an outlier that I was kind of like paying attention to, but I didn't catch it. I just got scared. So then I was patient enough to wait for it to come down again. And the fact that this was a key 2 hour demand, I knew that it was its first tap because we hadn't tapped it all week, and it was the level that we were talking about on the weekend. So when it came down into it, even as it was falling, like I was kind of like, okay, this 2 hour demand is super close. It's possible for it to break through it. So I was patient for it to come back, and there was an outlier there. The only thing is that volume was dropping while I was considering taking the trade, so that was already kind of uh I was putting myself in a bad situation because when I got in, I expected it to hit this 61.23, but since volume was dying down, the fact that I got a 9 point move, I should have taken an exit there rather than expecting a larger swing upward. I ended up getting stopped at break even because at 7 points I moved my stop. But the key reason why I was comfortable with longing this was the fact that we were at this key 2 hour demand, and I knew that now from here there's a higher probability of the market wanting to go upward, not necessarily hit something that I knew up here, but I had this outlier that was a 61.23 that I was eyeing to go for. But just
Wait, are we
knowing,
on?
It's
We're on
Tuesday.
Wednesday now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Wednesday now.
yeah, Thursday. But I'm just talking about context as
Oh,
far as
okay.
like knowing where the market wants to go. So it bounced off this key 2 hour demand, and I knew just like in a longer intraday perspective, it would want to bounce off of there and go somewhere. So that gave me the confidence to take the trade. And if you zoom out, you can see that all week, Tuesday didn't hit that 2 hour demand, Wednesday didn't hit that 2 hour demand, and then on this first tap of it, I felt more confidence on it. And then Friday, there was just no opportunity, but it did come down into the trend line.
Dude, I was gonna take that pre-market retest, but it didn't fucking tap, dude.
I know that shit annoyed me.
I know, I was so mad.
I was like definitely going to enter that. I felt confident about.
I know.
Oh,
Oh, sucks.
Right there where that yesterday lows at. That's annoying, bro. I was trying to take trades in that 2 hour all day yesterday. Well, I took two and they failed.
Oh, you took 2 trades yesterday?
Yeah, in that area.
at what time?
At 7:52, and then I tried it again right after at 8:03. I just figured it's in the demand zone. There was some outliers that I was testing, but I think the analysis, some of my analysis was correct, but I guess it was just one of those days where it consolidated in that demand zone and didn't really. And then,
Oh yeah, this is what did you see? Tell us everything you saw, because you said it was in a demand zone with no outliers. That's not a reason to take a trade. So what did you see?
I gotta open it. Hold up.
This is a market context review this time.
Should we go through all the days first, or should we get to Friday so I can start another video?
I'm just freestyling it.
Maybe we should just go by the subject matter. Just put like market context for the first video.
All right, for sure. 1 second. Let me open my trade.
Because this week was pretty like choppy for the most part.
Yeah. Also, I kind of on Sunday when I was looking at what's it called, the news for the week, it kind of feels like that for the most part. I think also when it's a day where we have off, the whether it's at the end of the week or the beginning of the week, there's some choppiness throughout that specific week. I've seen that.
So I guess I do have some outliers. I opened it up there were some buying outliers opening up in that demand zone, and there were some selling outliers opening up in the demand zone. And I was just trying retests of the buyers because we were in the demand zone.
What are we looking at? What day? Friday?
Friday.
Right? He's trying to take a long in the 2-hour demand. Dude, to me, selling was way too strong. There was so many selling outliers. I couldn't even trust any of them to take a retest.
I still don't know how to make sense of that. Like, yeah, because there's times where you guys show this, like, we'll see a sell off, and then in your mind, you're able to tell somehow, oh, the selling is over. Where in my mind, I'm like, it just started, like, it looks heavy. And then, like, I guess I was in that mindset yesterday where I'm like, all right, well, the selling looks like it dried up, and we're in the demand zone, and then that's how I was viewing it.
What you have to also consider is when the selling is aggressive like this, it was straight up hour. It was 35 or 40 minutes of just straight selling to the downside. So expecting it to bounce again is kind of a lower probability. It's because it may chop for a bit. If it is going to go up, it may chop for a bit. But also, we had dropped deep into the demand. I don't know. It just you have to really be patient after a sell off like that. It it's gonna be a choppy bounce if it does bounce, or it'll just chop in here. Like it kind of just did that. It chopped for the next
hour and a half,
45 minutes probably before it continued to the downside. But when go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll say it after.
No, I'm done.
Okay, we'll zoom back into the Friday. So with Felony, I don't know if you know about Felony, but when I was learning from him before Carmine, what he told me about downtrends and uptrends that really helped me was compare when it's a downtrend like this, compare the size of the red candles to the size of the green candles. If they're looking more like bearish engulfing candles, which are like more filled compared to these wicked green candles, then it's most likely selling is more aggressive than the buyers are. And look at the consolidation. The first 3 green candles are pretty big compared to the red candles, but they start to get smaller and smaller in the middle of consolidation, whereas the big red, where the red candles are, they get bigger and bigger until they get more aggressive and start selling off heavy into the 1 hour, 15 minute, 30 minute, whatever. Just compare the size and like realize like if you see where Eric's mouse line is, that bearish engulfing candle, that big one, right in the beginning of the consolidation, if you see something like that, then you should know that selling is probably going to still be aggressive, because that means sellers are trying really hard to bring it down. And then buyers start getting a little bit momentum, but they start slowing down at the top of yesterday's lows, and then selling starts getting more aggressive. Like the candles start getting more aggressive as it goes on.
You took it right here, though.
Yeah,
but a key thing though was that there wasn't an outlier, right?
Well, yeah. I'm looking at my screenshot and I have charted a couple of outliers.
Let me ask you this though, because what were you seeing? There's only one right answer for this one. So what were you seeing on NQ and DX to take along? Because when I was seeing it, it was not anywhere I wanted it to be.
Right. So
what were you seeing on it? You know what I mean? Like, were you paying attention to NQ and DX while that was going on? Because that's a big part of market context as well.
Right. Well, I do, like, in my mind, I'm seeing NQ right now was at a 4-hour pre-market support. And so I'm like, oh, wait, no, I'm looking at a different wrong chart. Hold on.
What time did you take it?
At 7:52.
7:52.
Hold on, I'm pulling up the TOS chart. So yeah, like both NQ and my charts look exactly the same. Like they broke through that first demand zone under VWAP, and then they both reached my key zone, which was 2 hour on ES and a 45 minute on NQ, and they were both at it. And I was just looking at it like, well, I think they're both reaching this support, so they're probably going to bounce. And
looking at the chart, I do see what you're talking about. Hold on, let me. I do see, like,
752?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, wasn't a bad zone.
I do see what you're talking about as far as what. Can you guys see my
chart,
Yeah, yeah.
NQ here? So 750 right here. So it was bouncing off my key demand zone. SPY was in demand also here and at the trend line. But I think a big part was what VX was doing. VX being out here outside of this channel that I had was super key to more downside pressure to me because it like popped up aggressively, and usually lately it was popping up and then rejecting and coming back into it. That was allowing ES to keep going up. But the fact that it popped up so aggressive and was still up here, not even like kind of down here, it was all the way up here, was bad for any long opportunities to me as far as context.
Can you zoom out a VX, like make it and maximize the screen and zoom out in VX?
I don't even know how VX look like that. That's crazy.
What do you mean?
Like,
I was telling Eloy, what do you mean?
Like I'm just surprised. Like I guess when I was looking at it, and I'm looking at my screenshot. What is VXH25, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I took the screenshot too late, but it didn't look like it went that crazy high up. But I mean, I took the screenshot too early.
Go to the 5 minute.
I think what helped me was knowing that it was popping above this channel because I've had this channel drawn out for a few days already.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. The consolidation. Let's zoom out. Yeah, and then okay, so yesterday's highs was the top of consolidation and bottom of the previous consolidation. So that was a key. So when it breaks above that channel, then it adds way more downside pressure to ES because it's going to skyrocket after it squeezes outside of that channel. We talked about that like 2 weeks ago or something like that. I was looking. That's what made me bearish as well because I knew if it broke above yesterday's highs and continued up, then we can go down a lot more.
Wait, what that squeeze part? What was that about? That's just sounding. I don't feel like I know that.
Because a channel, like when price is trading in a channel, it's hitting resistance and support constantly. So when it like that trend you have, it's trying to look how hard it like sellers and buyers are trying to go up and down. So by the time it gets to the end point, it squeezes so hard that it like skyrockets up.
Yeah,
it's
that's like crazy because Dylan took this VX trade long.
I know. I just read it today, dude.
I was tripping out. He makes me want to learn how to trade it. I feel like one day I will.
Why do you want to trade VX, dude?
Because the way he catches these squeezes, the way you're saying it, how it pops, he always knows when that's gonna happen. But yeah, what you just said was like a gem.
Yeah, just think of a channel as like price trying to squeeze out to the upside or downside. And then when it finally does, you know that it's going to like skyrocket or you know it's going to break down below. Because there's so many channels like this where it breaks out and it's like just going higher and higher or vice versa. It goes lower and lower. There's so many like that. That's where I got the consolidation plus the trend trading book. Like it just helped me confirm all that shit. Just think of it as like a toothpaste getting squeezed until the top finally comes off and then it goes fucking up higher. That's what a channel is to me, at least, or a trend.
I would have thought, because I'm not good at trend lines or channels yet. But like those two big tower candles that break out of it, like towards the middle of the screen, like to me, I didn't know you could still create like continue that channel even though it was broken like that. And I guess it did come back under it, but I would have thought maybe this is the channel being done.
No, I agree. I I used to look at it like that too, but you got to give it some like some room, especially when there's like large wicks getting rejected. It's like it's kind of telling you like, hey, we're not. The sellers are kind of telling you like, hey, we're not done. You know, we're bringing this shit back down. If it was done, then the buying I don't think would be rejected that hard, or at least twice with those candles. But you're right. I would probably see it like that too.
Also remember that the market's not gonna be perfectly
Yeah,
drawing
yeah.
things out for you. So you that's also why you got to give it that wiggle room. Like if this would have happened this day and before, like I would be like, okay, let me see. Like I'm not quick to say this is gonna keep going, but I'm also not quick to say that it it won't. I don't know. Like I got to be open to the fact that this can still keep going in the same direction. But
And look at
even
it,
like
worked. It worked perfectly.
right here, I might have not drawn it yet. Like I think I drew it like around one of these 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's also true. Like if it does that, you probably don't draw a trend line until after it comes back into it.
Mm. And it makes sense when you
But
look
you're
at the candle, like even though it went past it, it dropped back into it like very dramatically.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, dude. I used to think that too. And because Eric does this shit all the time. I'm like, fuck, how the hell did he figure that out? And then I just started giving some wiggle room and it started working.
There's a lot of stuff that you guys have told me in the past that I don't see it as like a bad thing, but that you guys like maybe you said, "Oh, don't prioritize that, Eloy," and now it's not that you guys prioritize it, but maybe you guys are doing it now, and it doesn't like affect me where I'm like, "Oh, I thought they said not to." It's more of like there's reason to like our
Look,
minds
this
are
is
growing so much that
this,
it's kind of like we didn't know at first, but now we do.
that's what I'm saying. This is if you're using these reviews as your only form of study time, that's so bad because we're amateurs, we're not pros. And like when we first started, we didn't know what the fuck we're doing. And even to this day, we're still trying to figure it out. So you can't take everything we say as like the truth. You know what I mean? We're gonna fuck up. We're gonna make mistakes. That's why you have to do your own studying aside from these reviews. That's why it's so important
And I
because not
think
everything we tell you is gonna be like legit. You know?
no, and I don't take it the wrong way. I think the trader's mindset is very open minded. I think because you have to be. Where I think
For
back
sure.
in the day I'd have been like, why the Eric told me this, now he's telling me that. And then like I think that's like an immature way to look at it. Whereas like it's more now I'm like, okay, well there's probably something new that he figured out. And it doesn't mean Eric has to tell me and remember, hey, I told you this last time, don't do it no more. And it's kind of like, yeah, I don't expect you guys to hold my hand the whole way, but it is interesting. Like it's just tight. Like
No, for sure.
I don't go like like this one needs to figure it out so that I can understand it. It's more of like, all right, well, there's
one thing
more work.
one thing I would have like if I were to like go back to when you first started trading, one thing I would have changed was to emphasize market context more because I feel like we went straight into like order flow and like just book map and shit like that. But if I were to start someone else over, I would like super emphasize on like understanding structure and like really looking at the chart on a long term basis because I feel like that's been such a key part of understanding when to take a trade and when not to take a trade.
A Carmine's accelerated course has a whole thing on market context.
But yeah, he didn't give us that back in the day.
I know.
But that's the one. That's why you see me drawing the trend lines more too, because the trend lines help me understand the context. So I definitely would say like start to like learn trend lines, whether it's through Gabriel's book that he said, or just drawing them out yourself and seeing when they work and when they not work. Like if you want to draw it out and then post it and be like, is this a valid trend line? Like, do that because really drawing them out is gonna, and you don't have to draw a lot. Like, that's not what I want you to do. Like, just draw this basic one up and the resistance and just build off that and
You
see
could
how
even
the whole week I never drew anything else. Like, I just was relying to see what happened here. And obviously, you took a long off of it, but you still that's where you realize like, oh shit, I still have to really be key to seeing what order flow is telling me. Not just because it's hitting in a certain area you take a
Mhm.
trade.
And at this point, the way this chart looks, are you going to delete those lines or are you keep them for like some sort of context as well?
Since we're at the weekend, I clear my chart completely.
I was going to ask that. Do you still chart every day blank?
Not every day,
You
but
asshole.
definitely at the end of the week.
I was
But
starting to
because
tell myself like
these trend lines these trend lines have been super helpful to understanding the direction of where the market's going, so I don't feel as lost
and that
on my
makes sense
chart.
because my charting, I was starting to think like, I mean, I'm sure there's an extra way that I just got to put more effort, but I'm like, I don't want to delete my entire chart. I still do it because I'm just like, well, I could chart pretty fast now, but I'm like, I don't want to delete it because I want to remember what it looks like and what, like, I feel like having the line still there can help me out, but I still delete them. But I've been like wanting to
you
be
delete
like,
them. You delete them every day.
I mean, the last lesson, which was months ago, that I got from Eric was to do so, and I just been sticking to the plan.
Fuck. I
But
stopped that shit a
that's what I'm
long
saying. I'm
time
not tripping.
ago.
I'm not tripping. It's more like I just there's things where I do listen to you guys, and I'm like, oh, I got to do that regardless. But there's already things where you guys told me not to do, but I'm like, I'm seeing something on my own personal end that I like from doing that, so I'll do it. Like when I was I still chart the if I had a demand line, and I'm like, all right, well, this if the demand got broken, I'll turn the green line into a gray line, and I'll go, all right, this is former support, new resistance, and I always keep those lines, and I always see price do something at them. And Eric told me to stop
Yeah,
doing that,
man.
but I'm like, it works for me.
I think it's because it wasn't part of the strategy, but if it works for you, it works for you. You know?
It doesn't work for me in a way. Obviously, I'm not successful yet, but it stands out to me in some with some sort of significance when I see it.
Yeah, for sure. Do what you got to do, man.
But
Like I said, it will.
As long as if it does get in, you still are like emphasizing the outlier because that's what you uh like you really want to focus on one setup only because once you add another setup into what you're doing right now for the 1000 locks, now when opportunities show up, you're going to be like, is this the 1000 lot setup or is this and it could start causing confusion. Whereas if you just master the 1000 lot setup, then when you do move on to that next setup, you're gonna not be as lost because you already know what that 1000 lot setup is and you've taken enough trades with it where like you're comfortable with what that looks like.
Also, keep in mind that when it price breaks through your demand zone and you turn it into the gray line, it's no longer a demand and it's not a supply either. It's just a random resistance line now.
yeah, I definitely don't put like a lot of importance around it. Like, oh, like this is the key zone now. It's just more of like it stands out, and maybe it could be used. It's usually meant for like targets or stops.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
But I've seen that like reverse where like it became support became resistance, and then now the resistance is like it really worked for it. But I never have a plan unless there's an outlier at it. But I don't really like make that the plan.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it on Eric's chart. It's working too.
Another thing for yesterday was that I don't know if there was an outlier there though. Oh, this was the fucking move here. The 120 where we wanted the 127.
Oh yeah.
Um, dude, if you look, it was actually breaking a key zone here because look at it was at this 15-minute demand and it was key. here resistance, resistance here, and then here was support, here was support. So when the market was falling underneath that 15-minute demand, it dropped, popped in, didn't get supported, and kept dropping. That was key to downside also.
See, that would have worked.
I had that in mind already, just that it didn't hit my 127. But that was part of why I was comfortable shorting it, even though we were at demand. Because also the buying here looked weak.
Yeah.
But I remember zooming out and looking at this and being like, oh shit, this is a key area to stay under if we're going to keep pushing down.
I don't know if you guys have.
So just context. What?
I don't know if you guys have more on this current video, but maybe I could start a second video because I wanted you guys to explain when it's a weaker instrument, and like if you could give me as many examples as you're willing to on how you view when something's a weaker instrument, how it moves you, and how you're gonna move with the trade or not. Y'all down for that?
Yeah, we started.
Let me end this video. That's all I was taking notes on yesterday. Like every time, because I think the